Early summer mornings in San Diego, California begin with refreshing ocean breezes from the Pacific. At the Miller family's mansion in the upscale La Jolla neighborhood, Rebecca Miller was watering the roses in her garden. Her face glowed with deep gratitude for the precious life she had been blessed with after 8 years of marriage. At 8 months pregnant, Rebecca's belly was beautifully rounded, and during her daily walks, receiving warm greetings from neighbors had become part of her routine. Walking along the coastal promenade, she would gently place her hand on her belly, enjoying quiet conversations with the little life inside. "Good morning, Rebecca. You're looking well today." Mrs. Johnson from next door paused her gardening to call out. She was a longtime resident who had lived in La Jolla for 40 years and was beloved as a motherly figure in the community. "Good morning. The baby is quiet this morning too, probably sleeping peacefully." Rebecca answered with a smile. Her voice carried the joy of becoming a mother. On Sunday mornings, it was their custom to attend services at St. James by the Sea Church with her husband Michael. This beautiful church, built on a hill overlooking the ocean, was one of La Jolla's iconic buildings and served as the community's spiritual center. Rebecca actively participated in the church's charitable activities and played a central role in supporting struggling families in the area. "I am truly grateful for the miracle God has given us," she would whisper in her weekly prayers. The 8 years of fertility treatments had been a continuous trial for the couple. Regular checkups at Sharp Memorial Hospital, side effects from hormone treatments, repeated disappointments. Yet the two had held hands and continued walking forward without losing hope. Michael worked as a project manager at a major IT company and was trusted by his colleagues for his dedicated work. Since learning of his wife's pregnancy, he seemed to treasure their home more than ever. On weekends, the two would visit baby stores together, carefully selecting everything they would need for their child. "How about this chair? It has high safety ratings, and I like the design." Michael pointed to a baby high chair. "It's lovely. But let's look around a bit more. This is a once-in-a-lifetime purchase." Rebecca answered, leaning against her husband's arm. The nursery on the second floor was a special space that Rebecca had prepared with love. Light blue wallpaper with white furniture, and handmade curtains hanging by the window. The bookshelf was lined with fairy tale books, and tiny clothes given by friends were carefully hung in the closet. Rebecca's mother, Dorothy, was as thrilled about her daughter's pregnancy as if it were her own. She visited twice a week to help prepare for the grandchild's arrival. "Rebecca, this reminds me of when you were born. The joy I felt then, you'll experience now," Dorothy said with tears in her eyes, holding her daughter's hand. "Mother, I'm so happy. Michael is such a kind and dependable husband, and I'm grateful to God." The warm moments when 3 generations of women gathered were the happiest times for Rebecca. Her work as a financial analyst at the hospital was going well, and she was spending her time meaningfully until her maternity leave. Her colleagues genuinely celebrated her pregnancy, saying one after another, "You'll definitely be a perfect mother." Rebecca's sincere character and dedicated attitude were loved by many at work. During dinner, even while talking about work, Michael always showed concern for his wife's health. "Aren't you tired today? I don't want you to push yourself too hard." "I'm fine. The baby is moving vigorously too, and I can't wait for next month's delivery." The evenings in La Jolla were beautiful, with sunsets over the Pacific painting the sky orange. Rebecca would stand by the window, hand on her belly, thinking about the new family life that would soon begin. The miracle they had waited 8 years for was finally about to become reality. In the second week of June, the early morning hours in San Diego were wrapped in silence. At 4:30 a.m., Rebecca woke suddenly with pain. The sharp contractions attacking her belly were stronger than anything she had ever experienced. She gently shook the shoulder of Michael, who was sleeping beside her. "Michael, I think it's starting. I'm having contractions." Michael sprang up and immediately regained his composure. He picked up the hospital contact list they had prepared in advance and called Sharp Memorial Hospital. "This is Michael Miller. My wife is in labor. She's having regular contractions 10 minutes apart." The hospital midwife responded in a calm voice. "I understand. I'll contact Dr. Johnson." please come to the hospital right away. The drive was only 15 minutes, but during that time, Rebecca's contractions steadily intensified. Michael drove alone, occasionally glancing back to check on his wife. We're almost there, hang in there. Thank you, Michael. Having you here gives me strength. Rebecca held her husband's hand while practicing breathing techniques. The skills she had learned in the church's childbirth preparation classes were proving useful. The maternity ward at Sharp Memorial Hospital was one of the premier medical facilities on the West Coast, boasting state-of-the-art equipment. Upon arrival, a wheelchair was immediately prepared, and Rebecca was quickly taken to the delivery room. Dr. Patricia Johnson was a 62-year-old veteran obstetrician-gynecologist who enjoyed tremendous trust from La Jolla's wealthy residents. In her 25-year career, she had witnessed countless births. Rebecca, the baby's heartbeat is normal. For a first birth, this is excellent progress. Dr. Johnson's gentle voice encouraged Rebecca as she endured the pain of contractions. Around 8 a.m., Rebecca's mother Dorothy rushed to the hospital. She had left her Santa Barbara home the night before to be present for her daughter's delivery. Rebecca, I'm here for you, so everything will be fine. You're a strong girl, and you'll definitely get through this. Dorothy gently spoke while wiping the sweat from her daughter's forehead. The contractions gradually intensified, and by afternoon they were 5 minutes apart. Rebecca was exhausted, but her love for the child about to be born sustained her. Just a little more. The baby is moving very actively. The attending midwife, Sarah Garcia, was a professional with 20 years of experience. Her precise guidance and support sustained the long labor. After 3 p.m., the contractions reached their peak. Rebecca gripped her husband's hand tightly, relying on her mother's encouraging voice to endure the pain. Rebecca, I can see the baby's head now. Just a little more. Dr. Johnson's voice was filled with intensity. Tension filled the delivery room as everyone watched with bated breath. At 7:18 p.m., that moment finally arrived. A small cry echoed through the delivery room. It's a boy. A very healthy baby. When Dr. Johnson lifted the baby high, sighs of relief spread throughout the room. The long labor lasting 15 hours had finally come to an end. Congratulations, Rebecca. You really did wonderfully. Dorothy embraced her daughter with tears streaming down her face. Rebecca, with a smile on her exhausted face, held her newborn son to her chest. Thank you, God, for giving us this child. Rebecca offered a quiet prayer. The miracle they had waited 8 years for had finally become reality. The midwife cleaned the baby and measured his weight and height. He was a healthy 6-pound boy. All test results were normal too, it was a perfect birth. But then it happened. Michael, who had been quietly watching from the corner of the delivery room, suddenly showed a strange expression. He stared intently at the baby's face and eventually formed a cold smile. Is this really my child? Those words rang through the quiet hospital room like ice. Michael, what are you saying? Rebecca looked up at her husband with a trembling voice. I need a DNA test. I need to confirm whether this is really my child. Michael's voice carried a cruelty she had never heard before. Are you out of your mind? Dorothy stood up, trembling with anger. This is no joke. This child clearly doesn't look like me. Rebecca, did you really not have an affair? The air in the delivery room froze instantly. Dr. Johnson and the midwife were speechless at the sudden turn of events. Rebecca couldn't say anything and just held the baby tightly to her chest. Large tears fell from her eyes. The joy of childbirth instantly turned to despair. Michael, I swear, I have never been intimate with any man other than you. Rebecca's voice trembled with tears. If that's true, then a DNA test should prove it. I can't be certain, Michael said while feigning composure. However, something calculating gleamed in his eyes. This child is definitely your son. For 8 years, how faithful a wife I've been, you should know that better than anyone. Dorothy stepped forward as if to protect her daughter. I just want to know the facts. A DNA test will make everything clear. Heavy silence flowed through the delivery room. Only the small cries of the newborn baby broke that silence. Dr. Johnson had never encountered such a scene in her 30 years of experience. She tried to maintain her professional composure while attempting to sort out the situation. "Mr. Miller, your wife has just endured 15 hours of difficult labor. She needs rest now." "I understand, doctor. But knowing the truth is also important." Michael's attitude remained stubborn. Rebecca said while trembling her exhausted body, "I'm telling nothing but the truth. This child is the crystallization of our love as husband and wife." However, Michael's expression remained cold as stone. The next morning, the maternity ward at Sharp Memorial Hospital had regained its usual quiet. However, only Rebecca's room remained wrapped in the heavy atmosphere from the night before. Dr. Patricia Johnson visited Rebecca first during her early morning rounds. The doctor had witnessed numerous family dramas in her 30-year career, but she had never seen a scene like last night's. "Rebecca, how are you feeling?" Dr. Johnson asked gently. Rebecca turned around with an exhausted expression. "Doctor, what should I do? Michael is seriously demanding a DNA test. As a physician who has examined you for 8 years, I believe in your character. However, if your husband wishes it, taking the test is also one option." Dr. Johnson chose her words carefully. Michael had come to the hospital early in the morning and was proceeding with DNA testing procedures in the laboratory. His expression remained as cold as last night, as if he were a different person. "When can the sample collection be done?" Michael asked the testing technician. "With normal procedures, it would be possible this afternoon. Results will be available in 3 days." Testing technician David Chun was a reliable specialist with 20 years of experience. At 2 p.m., sample collection for DNA testing was performed. Rebecca signed the form with trembling hands and complied with providing an oral sample. From the 2-day-old baby, a sample was also carefully collected by a specialist technician. "We can provide the results Friday morning in 3 days." David Chun explained matter-of-factly. Those 3 days were the longest time in Rebecca's life. Her mother Dorothy stayed at the hospital night after night, continuing to support her daughter. "Rebecca, truth will always come to light. You have nothing to fear." Dorothy encouraged her while holding her daughter's hand. Church members also visited one after another. Pastor Robert Harvey from St. James by the Sea Church made a special visit to the hospital room. "God gives us trials, but He also gives us the strength to overcome them. Let us pray." The pastor's words brought deep comfort to Rebecca's heart. Friday at 10 a.m., that moment finally came. Dr. Johnson visited Rebecca's room holding the envelope with the DNA test results. Michael had already arrived and stood with a tense expression. "Before I give you the results, there's something I want to discuss." Dr. Johnson's expression was serious. "There are clearly unnatural points in these test results. As a physician, I cannot trust these results." "What do you mean?" Rebecca asked with a trembling voice. "In normal DNA testing, the probability of parentage is either over 99% or 0%. However, these results show the ambiguous figure of 73%. Dr. Johnson explained while opening the envelope. "What does that mean?" A look of confusion crossed Michael's face. "Such results are scientifically almost impossible. There's a possibility that some kind of human manipulation occurred during the testing process." Dr. Johnson's words completely changed the atmosphere in the room. "Doctor, I swear that in these 8 years, I have never been intimate with any man other than Michael." Rebecca pleaded through tears. "As a physician who has examined you for 8 years, I completely believe you. The course of pregnancy, fetal growth, everything indicated a child from one father." Dr. Johnson said with conviction. "So these results are fake?" Dorothy stepped forward. "I consider that possibility extremely high. I will immediately report this to the hospital's chief administrator and request a thorough investigation of the testing process," Dr. Johnson declared resolutely. At 3 p.m., an emergency meeting was held in the hospital's laboratory. Laboratory Director Dr. Margaret Walter was an authority in laboratory medicine with 35 years of career experience. David, please explain the testing process of these 3 days in detail. Dr. Walter instructed the testing technician. We received the samples Monday afternoon and began testing Tuesday morning. However, Wednesday night, the laboratory's security alarm was triggered. David Chun reported with a confused expression. Did you check the security footage? Yes. Around 11:30 p.m., a suspicious person had infiltrated the laboratory. That person stayed for about 20 minutes and was doing some kind of work near the testing equipment. The hospital security officer played the footage. The monitor showed a person in black clothes operating something in the laboratory. Can you identify the face? Dr. Walter asked. Unfortunately, it's completely hidden by a mask and hat. However, judging by the build, it appears to be an adult male. The next day, Saturday, Dr. Johnson visited Rebecca's room again. Rebecca, it has been determined that there was unauthorized external intervention in the testing process. For your honor and to reveal the truth, I need to report this to the police. The police? Rebecca was surprised. Falsification of medical records is a serious criminal act. It's also malicious defamation against you. This should be treated as a social crime beyond a personal matter. Dr. Johnson's expression was stern. Michael had been listening silently in the corner of the room, but his face had turned pale. Doctor, I just wanted to know the truth. Mr. Miller, there is only one truth. This baby is definitely your and your wife's son. I assert this as a physician. Dr. Johnson answered firmly. We will conduct a retest with new samples. This time I will personally oversee and monitor the entire testing process. Monday morning, DNA testing was performed again. Dr. Johnson herself supervised every process from sample collection to testing. 24-hour security was stationed in the laboratory. Tuesday evening, the new results came out. After confirming the results, Dr. Johnson immediately contacted the San Diego police. The San Diego police investigation team arrived at the hospital immediately. Detective Thompson was an excellent detective with 20 years of experience, also known as a specialist in medical-related crimes. Dr. Johnson, please organize the facts that have been determined so far. First, the initial DNA test results showed scientifically impossible figures. Second, an intruder had infiltrated the laboratory during the testing period. And third, the retest conducted under strict surveillance confirmed normal parentage. Detective Thompson took detailed notes while listening. What were the retest results? It was proven with 99.99% probability that Mr. Miller is the father. Heavy tension filled the interrogation room at San Diego Police Station. Detective James Thompson faced Michael Miller while employing the sharp intuition cultivated through 20 years of detective experience. Mr. Miller, let me first confirm. Where did you spend your time from Monday through Wednesday? I was going back and forth between the hospital and home. It was my wife's delivery. Michael maintained surface composure, but thin beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Do you remember Wednesday night, around 11:30 p.m.? Detective Thompson stared at Michael with sharp eyes. I was resting at home. I was tired, so I went to bed early. That's strange. Hospital security footage shows a suspicious male infiltrating the laboratory at that time. Michael's expression stiffened slightly. Are you saying that was me? Without any evidence? Regarding evidence, we'll be investigating that thoroughly. First, let me check your cell phone's location data. Detective Thompson stated calmly. At the same time, a separate investigation was progressing at the hospital. Testing technician David Chun was conducting a detailed inspection of the laboratory with his supervisor, Dr. Walter. Please check this testing equipment's logs. There should have been unauthorized access Wednesday night. Dr. Walter instructed with conviction from 35 years of experience. Found it. There's a record of connection from an external device at 11:45 p.m. There are also traces of data being overwritten. David Chen's voice was trembling. He had finally realized he was involved in the serious crime of medical data falsification. This access would require considerable technical knowledge. An ordinary person couldn't do this. Dr. Walter said with a serious expression. At 4 p.m., Detective Thompson made an important discovery. Analysis of Michael's cell phone location data revealed that he had been near the hospital Wednesday night. Mr. Miller, your cell phone is recorded as staying near Sharp Memorial Hospital from 11:20 p.m. Wednesday to 12:10 a.m., according to the records. Detective Thompson placed the evidence materials on the table. That's wrong. I was at home. Michael desperately denied it, but his voice clearly showed agitation. Furthermore, the hospital parking lot surveillance cameras captured your vehicle. The license plate has been confirmed. Detective Thompson presented evidence one after another. At 6 p.m., decisive evidence was discovered. Fingerprints collected from the laboratory matched Michael's. Mr. Miller, you can't escape anymore. All evidence points to you. Detective Thompson pressed with a stern tone. Why did you do such a thing? Hasn't your wife believed in and supported you for 8 years? After a long silence, Michael opened his mouth as if he had given up. All right. I admit it. I did it. Heavy air flowed through the interrogation room. Please tell us your motive. I didn't want my relationship with Ashley to be discovered. Even if I divorced, I didn't want to give Rebecca any property. Michael's confession was cold-hearted. Ashley Roberts, a woman who is your company colleague. Detective Thompson confirmed the results of prior investigation. That's right. For my future with her, I didn't want to give Rebecca a single penny. If the DNA test showed it wasn't my child, it would be evidence of infidelity. Under California law, the guilty spouse is disadvantaged in property division. So you tried to frame your innocent wife for adultery and monopolize the property? That's right. If Rebecca had committed adultery, I wouldn't have to pay alimony either. It should have been a perfect plan. Michael's words showed not a trace of regret. What kind of manipulation did you do to testing technician David Chin? I offered him $300,000. I knew he was struggling with his family's college expenses. Did he agree? He refused at first. But when I threatened to harm his family, he became cooperative. Detective Thompson was shocked by Michael's calculating malice. So you used your technical knowledge from the IT company to falsify the test data? Unauthorized access to the database was easy. I just exploited security vulnerabilities. At 8 p.m., testing technician David Chun was also called to the police station. He testified to the facts while trembling. I was threatened by Mr. Miller. He said he would hurt my family, and I didn't know what to do. What specifically was the threat? He showed me photos of my wife and children and said he would harm them if I didn't cooperate. $300,000 in cash was also prepared. David Chen's testimony revealed the full extent of Michael's crime. The next day, Thursday, Rebecca Miller was informed of this series of truths at the hospital. Dr. Johnson carefully explained the facts. Rebecca, your husband intentionally falsified the DNA test results and tried to make you suspect of adultery. I can't believe it. Why would he do such a thing? Rebecca was stunned. To hide his relationship with his mistress and escape property division during divorce. The plan was to frame you as the guilty spouse. Mother Dorothy was trembling with anger. That man was trying to use my daughter and grandchild to satisfy his own desires. Mother, what should I do? You did nothing wrong. All the truth has been revealed. Dr. Johnson said gently. According to the authentic DNA test results, the baby is definitely your and Mr. Miller's son. Confirmed with 99.99% probability. At 3 p.m., Michael was formally arrested. The charges were medical record falsification, extortion, unauthorized access, and psychological abuse of a spouse. Michael Miller, you are under arrest for medical record falsification and extortion. You have the right to remain silent. Detective Thompson's voice echoed through the police station. The same day, the details of the incident were also reported to Michael's employer, a major IT company. The company immediately fired him, causing major ripples within the organization. When Mistress Ashley Roberts learned the truth of the incident, she immediately broke off her relationship with Michael. "I can't believe I was involved with such a despicable man." She admitted to the adulterous relationship with Michael during police questioning but testified that she knew nothing about the criminal plan. Friday evening, Rebecca was quietly holding her son in a hospital room. Dr. Johnson came for a final examination. "Rebecca, your and the baby's health conditions are perfect. You can be discharged next week. Doctor, thank you for supporting me these 8 years. Without you, the truth would have been buried in darkness. I only did what was natural as a physician. I believed in your sincerity." Outside the window, San Diego's beautiful sunset was setting over the Pacific. The long nightmare was finally about to end. "Mother, let's start a new life. Together with this child." Rebecca smiled at her mother Dorothy. "Yes, Rebecca. God always gives hope after trials." Quiet peace had returned to the hospital room. 3 years later in summer, San Diego's sunlight was as beautiful as ever. At a park along La Jolla's coastline, Rebecca Miller was spending a peaceful afternoon with her 3-year-old son David. "Mommy, look. A big ship." David pointed to a yacht floating on the Pacific while showing an innocent smile. In his clear eyes, there was no trace of his father's shadow. He had grown into a healthy child who inherited Rebecca's own brightness and grandmother Dorothy's warmth. "You're right, David. They must be having a wonderful adventure," Rebecca answered while holding her son on her lap. The nightmare from 3 years ago had become a distant memory. Rebecca's life had changed dramatically. Her career as a financial analyst at the hospital had developed smoothly, and last year she was finally promoted to associate director of the financial department. Her colleagues highly valued her sincerity and professionalism and respected her strength in overcoming difficulties. "Rebecca, we'll adopt your proposal for the next budget planning meeting." Her supervisor, Director Sarah Martinez, completely trusted Rebecca's abilities. Economically, Rebecca was completely self-sufficient. At the time of divorce finalization, she had received the majority of Michael's entire fortune. The California court, taking his criminal acts seriously, awarded Rebecca an amount far exceeding normal property division. The beautiful La Jolla mansion had also become entirely hers. Every Sunday, Rebecca and David attended services at St. James by the Sea Church. The church community had continued to support the mother and child unchanged for these 3 years. "Rebecca, David always looks so energetic and wonderful." Mrs. Johnson still warmly greets them. "With God's guidance, we are walking as a new family," Rebecca answered with deep gratitude. Her relationship with Dr. Patricia Johnson had also developed into a trust relationship beyond doctor and patient. She still handles David's regular checkups and continues to watch over the mother and child's health. "David is in perfect health. Rebecca, you're a wonderful mother. Thanks to you, doctor, we have our current happiness." Dorothy, as always, visited her daughter and grandson 3 times a week. A new family form had emerged consisting of 3 women and 1 boy. "David, Grandma made cookies." "Yay! Grandma's cookies are the best in the world." David's carefree laughter echoed through the mansion. Meanwhile, ex-husband Michael's life had completely collapsed. He had received a 3-year prison sentence for the incident 3 years ago and was still serving time in state prison. Medical record falsification, extortion, and psychological abuse of a spouse were recognized, and the possibility of parole was considered extremely low. He was permanently banished from the IT industry, and employment prospects after release were hopeless. Former Mistress Ashley Roberts had completely severed her relationship with him immediately after the incident was revealed and was now married to another man. "It's not even worth the time to think about that person." Rebecca had learned to calmly dismiss the occasional mention of Michael in conversations with her mother. She also occasionally kept in touch with Detective James Thompson. After the incident, he was promoted as a specialist in medical-related crimes, and Rebecca's case was used as an exemplary investigation case in police academies. Thanks to that incident, we've been able to prevent many similar crimes. Detective Thompson was proud of it as a case that contributed to social justice. While watching the sunset at the seaside park, Rebecca reflected on her life. 8 years of fertility treatments, her husband's betrayal, and the revelation of truth. Perhaps it had all been God's trial. Mommy, we'll always be together, right? David asked, looking up. Of course, David. You, Mommy, and Grandma, we're a perfect family. The sunset over the Pacific painted the mother and child's faces golden. La Jolla's beautiful coastline seemed to promise a future filled with new hope. The sound of church bells could be heard from the distance. Rebecca Miller's new life continued steadily with her son and mother. Supported by God's grace and the love of those around her, she had found true happiness. Truth always triumphs. And love has the power to overcome all trials. Rebecca's story quietly proved that truth.